but I appreciate it. It's been a long process for a lot of us, and it's a real struggle for me. I really hear the people that say, this is my property. How can you tell me what to do with my property? This is my house. I should be able to do what I want with my house. But, on the other hand, one of the purposes of living in a city is to to have the protection of zoning. And what that means is if you buy a house, there's not going to be an asphalt plant next door because we have zoning. So it protects your investment. And I think where we can argue is what kind of zoning is appropriate? What kind of regulation is appropriate? What serves to protect your interest? And then what is too much of an intrusion on your life and how you want to run your home? So trying to find that balance to ensure that we have the integrity of our neighborhoods that we so much enjoy and appreciate. Growing up, I lived in Washington, D.C. I lived out west. I lived in different places, and I can say, and probably a lot of you can say, that Asheville has a great sense of community, and that's due in large part to our neighborhoods. So I am very concerned about preserving the integrity of our communities, but I'm also very much a data-driven person. How do you make a decision based on conjecture? Well, I have this one experience, and next door to me this thing happened, and I see people looking at me perplexed, but how can you make a decision that looks more broadly at the whole picture in Asheville? So I have done research too. We've all done a lot of research. We actually hired folks at the School of Government to do a study for us and look at other cities and how they've handled the issue. And here's some interesting stuff that I learned. One is that Asheville has more short-term rentals, and the term is used as an umbrella for it captures homestays and short-term rentals, online than any city in North Carolina by hundreds. That includes Charlotte. That includes Raleigh. It's enormous. So to me, this isn't something to mess up. It's a major issue for our community. It's not a small thing, and I think if anybody stands up and says, I know exactly what the long-term effect of this is going to be in Asheville, how can you know? This is a phenomenon we don't know. It's new to us. And we have to get it right. Someone said the genie's out of the bottle. Well, it's not totally out of the bottle. But to open it up and say, well, we're going to let everyone do anything they want for a couple of years and then rein it in, that would be very challenging to make work. So we look at other communities, and Cecil had pointed out another community similar to ours, Duluth, Minnesota. I don't know how many of you have been there. They're the same size as Asheville. They consider themselves kind of a funky place too. And Duluth is allowing short-term rentals. And they recently, this last spring, had a city council meeting where they were trying to decide whether or not to have a moratorium because it had gotten so out of control. You know how many short-term rentals they'd permitted? 30. Do you know how many they had online? 50. They were worried that 20 of them were advertising online and weren't permitted. We have 900. 900. This we cannot get wrong. We have got to get it right. If we get it wrong, it could be like, you rent a house at the beach, right? You go to the beach, every single house there is a rental. Everybody rents for a week. Nobody knows each other. Everybody's making a mint. But what is it? What is it? It's just a resort community. That's all it is. It's not a community. It's not a place where people raise children. It's not a place where you know your neighbor. It's not a community. So I genuinely get panicked about making the wrong decision that will result 10 years from now from you all looking at each other, us looking at each other and saying, what happened to this place? Where did we go wrong? When did we make the wrong decision about our community? So while I want to balance the private interests of what you should be able to do with your house with the broad interests of preserving the integrity of a community, we are challenged with the burden of getting this right. So, with that, I am in agreement that we've got to have a balance. Homestays do provide an opportunity for people to afford to live in their home that need other means of providing some income. But crafting that legislation is a bear. I think we're close to getting it right here by limiting it to 25% of the home. But I think we need to look at, as Mark raised the issue, making sure we prevent the commercialization of these things so folks can't come in and buy a city block and transfer each one into a separate LLC and hire an on-site manager for each of them, because you'll make money doing that in Nashville right now. You just will. We need to be able to prevent that. So it truly is for people who need to help supplement their income. I'm not interested in limiting the number of nights per year or the number of bedrooms or the number of guests. I think we've accomplished that through the 25% of the home rule. And I think that we should revisit looking at whether to require off-street parking. We've kind of gone back and forth with that. Right now, homestays do require off-street parking, is my understanding, and we were looking at the idea of not requiring that, and I'm not sure if we should move in that direction. So, I hate to get so darn serious about this, but I really do think it is such a serious issue for our community, and it's incumbent on all of us to look thoughtfully at it. And I really appreciate all of you slugging it out here, staying to this almost 9 o'clock now, to hear each of you talk about it and hear each of us talk about it.